Well, welcome everyone to today's Fortra webinar. Again, Fortra formerly helped systems for 40 years. We're now Fortra. I'll explain that in just a bit. But today we're talking about navigating today's HMC, Hardware Management Council, and what you need to know for IBMI. We're giving you the Fortra experience today. We have one of my colleagues with us, Tom Komadowski, or known around here as just simply Tom Com. And he's going to help do some demonstrations on how he uses the HMC on behalf of Fortra. We're excited to have you here. The webinar is being recorded so you can play back. There will be some handouts too. We've got a couple polling questions along the way. We'll have maybe some time for Q&A. Not a very long webinar. I will get us rolling here. On to the next slide. I'm Tom Huntington, Executive Vice President of Technical Solutions, or simply EVP of Technical Solutions, or just simply Tom at Fortra.com. And I'll talk to you about everything Fortra, what's going on with IBMI. I'm an IBM Power champion, so excited to be here with that designation. I believe the Power Champion program is open for nominations too for this next year. So feel free, if you feel like you want to be part of that program, to join it. Very fortunately joined by Tom Komadowski. Tom, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to the webinar.
I know this is really excited, Tom, that you're going to be able to share your expertise and what you do for us. Just remind everybody, we had a name change. We went from Help Systems to Fortra, not because we had a financial change of ownership or anything like that. It was really kind of a decision to make a change as the world of help systems had changed quite a bit. We love IBMI. We do a lot of business on IBMI, but we do a lot on cybersecurity and automation off of IBMI. And we want your organizations to think about us in those spaces too. So hence the name change, because when people heard help systems, Tom, what did they think? AS400,
Yep.
IBMI, iSeries software vendor, and that's it. So hopefully the new name change is resonating with your executives there that give us a look in cybersecurity and automation off of IBMI too. The world's changed quite a bit. So we're going to talk about what the HMC is. We're going to navigate the HMC, and we're going to do some live demonstration, a little bit of Q&A as we go through this. First of all, the good old polling question that we always have on most of our webinars, and if I could launch that up for you. We just simply want to know, how many partitions are you managing? Only 1, 2 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 10, 10 plus, and we'll leave this open again. Hey, as I was talking earlier, Common Navigate, October 9th through the 11th is coming up. Please go to that. And if you're not a member of Common, common.org, Common Europe, there's many different commons around the world. You should join that, or join a user group that's local to you. Many of the user groups are virtual today. And you can join them that way. And then many of the regional user groups are starting up even in-person sessions, but it's all about education. Don't come to me and say you can't find education in IBMI. Tom and I were talking about the good friend called Google. Go out to Google
Yep.
and do some Googling, and you'll find some education, right, Tom? All
Yep.
right, so looks like we've given these fine people that are with us today plenty of time to answer this first polling question. Let's see here. I need to share the results. So we are 19% of you only have a single partition, 22% 2 to 3, 24% 4 to 6, 7 to 10, and 10 plus partitions. Wow, we have a really good diverse group here
Yep.
of administrators and people responsible for this platform. So let's hide that and move on. So what is the Hardware Management Council? Gosh, Tom, I'm trying to think, how long has the HMC as a concept been around? It's been a long time. I can't even think. It's at
Yeah.
least 2 decades, right?
At least
So
it's yep.
yeah, so it's a virtual appliance on an x64 or Power server. We prefer the virtual environment, don't we, Tom?
Yes, easier to manage, easier to work with. Another piece of
Yep.
hardware that doesn't have to fail.
Yep, and then it interfaces via LAN connections to your networks. It is a closed operating system, meaning IBM doesn't allow you to load any of your software onto it. It does have a command line interface, but it's very restrictive. And then to access the HMC today, you're using a browser, which is really the way to go. Um, the HMC itself doesn't really care what operating system you're running in your various VMs or partitions. You can run Linux, the Linux on Power, the IBM I, or the AIX operating systems and control them through the HMC. And we'll show you that in a little. Oops, wow, how did I do that?
Oh, we're done already.
We're done already. Oh my gosh. You
Yeah.
know what it is? I got too big of fingers. Apologize, folks. So why the HMC? This is where we're going to help you manage, define, monitor all your hardware related to the Power server itself. And this is going to give you the ability to define your memory, your processor, your storage, IO cards across this environment. Going to monitor your performance in this area. And of course, then you can manage and see your memory pools, your processor pools, and then even set up things like error notification, call home, call IBM type support if you want that. Now, if you're going to do any of the following, you need an HMC. Virtual serial numbers. If you're going to use virtual serial numbers, newer concept from IBM, if you haven't heard of it, it's the ability to move your VM around and maintain a serial number. If you're familiar with the system value queue serial number, your virtual serial number will be stored in there. You have to go to IBM to buy a virtual serial number. Not enough time to educate you on that. If you're going to use LPM, live partition mobility, a technology that's been around again for 10 years, 15 years,
Yep.
15 years for sure on AIX, and maybe 10 years on IBM I. We'll go with that. And then really, if you're going to do any kind of virtualization, you want an HMC. Anything to add to that, Tom?
Yeah, just that it basically pools all your hardware into one place to manage. If you're doing any kind of uh, micro partitioning or things like that, HMC is required. You have to have it.
Yeah, so this is just a little diagram of what we're talking about. So you might, in my case here, I have 3 physical servers: Power System 1, Power System 2, and Power System N, which means many, right? Um, and I'm controlling, or I can access my BIOS from here, and then I can control all of my various VMs again with mixed operating systems. I still run into people that don't realize you can run AIX and IBM I, for example, on the same frame if you want. I mean, not a problem. That's been around
Yep.
for quite a while. When don't you need an HMC? Tom, when don't you need an HMC?
When you really have like maybe one server, maybe one or two, you don't have a lot of mobility, a lot of changes, uh, and you're basically, like I say, single partition. You're all internal storage. You're not doing a lot with moving them around or adjusting them or anything like that. You really don't need an HMC. There are other ways of doing it.
Okay. So some tips that we have with the HMC, it's almost like anything today. Keep current. You got to keep current primarily in today's world because of cybersecurity. Just talked to a customer yesterday running Power 7 Plus technology V7R1, and they were going to get off IBM I, but they're still on it, and they were going to get off IBM I in 2012. Okay.
Yeah, we've heard that
What
story
year?
before too.
All
Yep.
right, right. So keep current. Don't fall into that trap. And the same with HMC. Redundant pairs, Tom. Why redundant pairs?
Always good to have redundancy. That way you can work on one system, do upgrades in that, and the other one's available. You don't lose connection. You don't, things. And things break. It happens. And having a redundant pair, you've got that safety net. You've always got a second one sitting running that you can always switch to.
Yep. And you can set up phone home support. You should do that because that'll call into IBM if it needs anything. And then also turn on performance collection data. That's by default not on, and you have to turn that on globally and then also by VM, I believe, in order to get that rolling. Um,
Yes.
on the notification front, you have SNMP and email capabilities to notify your staff if the HMC thinks it has any issues and needs to call you. And then Tom, you talked about virtual appliances versus physical appliances. What are your tips there?
Yeah, we use virtual appliance exclusively here just because we have our VMware environment that we run it in. It's so much easier to allocate more processor if you need it. You can move it around between, VMware servers. You can run it on Power as well. We tried that. We didn't allocate enough processor for it, so we went back to the VMware version. But if you're very familiar with IBM I hardware and that, you can run it on your IBM servers. It doesn't need to be on. You don't have to have VMware. You don't have to have the expertise. It's easier to manage on there, and with it being virtual, I can connect to it with a virtual console to get to my HMC internally. If things go wrong, if I can't get to it over Ethernet, I can get to it through the virtual interface. It's so much easier to work with.
Very good, very good. So HMC, like IBMI and AIX operating systems, has a life cycle, and this here is just the current charts provided by the product offering manager from IBM, Mr. Dan Sun. He provided me this latest and greatest graphic of the various release levels. And Tom, you're running version 10 R2 here at the Fortra
Correct.
company, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
keep it up to date for the most part. Try to stay current. Once you start running the newer hardware like Power 10 and that, you have to have at least a version 10. I think we started at R1 and upgraded to R2 when it came out. And you have to keep an eye on that because when they come up with newer versions, they will drop the support for the older hardware. Like with Power 7, you can't run V10. It doesn't support Power 7 anymore. So
okay.
you have to balance what hardware you have, what versions you have. It's a bit of a juggling act, but it's fairly straightforward. IBM's very giving on what information and what will run with what and what you have to upgrade.
Very good. Very good. Let me move on. Talk about navigating the HMC. As I said earlier, there's a browser interface into it. So this browser interface makes it simpler to manage the settings for your HMC. Gives you a unified place where you can do actions against the frames or the partitions or the BIOS. There's some toggle features in there. There's resources. There's a new dashboard in the current one that Tom's running. Optimized menu for navigation. We do feel like it's a much easier interface today for managing this environment. So I have a few screenshots purely for handout purposes. We're going to do a live demonstration, but this is showing you the navigation of the browser. This again is simply a browser into one of our systems where we can get at the actual frames, the VMs, the partitions, the virtual IO servers. Tom's going to talk a bit about tags and a few other things. I don't want to spend too much time on here, but as you can see the partitions and manage and view your partitions from here. Various operating systems. Oh, there's a surprise. Why would Fortra have AIX and Linux, not just IBMI? To the point, we do a lot. You do antivirus for AIX and Linux on Power and, privileged user access and all kinds of things for AIX besides IBMI. Virtual IOs, you can get at those, you can start and stop, and you can do updates to your VIOs from here.
Yep.
And you also can update the management console itself from here. So there is, again, kind of that self-updating feature inside of this user interface. And in the phone home support, you can send email or an SNMP trap if you have some management software that can handle that. You can get traps for notification or email. All right. Promised you, Tom, we'd get through that whole part pretty quick.
Yep.
And what I'm going to do now is turn it over to you. I'll make you presenter as soon as I find your name here. And you are now presenter.
All right.
I'll let you know when I can see your screen. And while Tom's doing that, I'll remind you about the IBM I Marketplace survey. I'm going to drop that link into here. So go ahead, Tom.
Okay. This is the new interface that they came out with the latest release. They've added a dashboard. Very nice summary. Puts everything, your basic information right in the main panel. when I was preparing for this, I decided to upgrade my HMCs to the latest version. Found a problem. I don't know if if any of you guys are like me, you're still using the old client access. I use it for consoles because of the number of macros I had for it. I didn't want to give it up. Well, it turns out in version 10 R2, Service Pack 1040 and beyond, they now require SSL to be enabled for consoles. And the old client access supports SSL, but not to the TLS level. So your old client access consoles will no longer function once you upgrade to the latest service packs. You have to use the access client solutions. And I lost all my macros when I did that upgrade. So just a bit of a warning. It's not mentioned, very well in the upgrades. Just something to keep your eye out on. Like I say, there's no translation of macros, so you will lose that. So yeah, just a snapshot here of what your systems are at. Gives you counts. Just a nice little interface to it. One thing that I do like is it now brings up the active web users. You can see who's signed on, what they've done. You can see here I've got a bunch of idle sessions. When you close your session without logging out, it leaves them idle. So if you're ever having to reboot or see if somebody else is working on it, very nice to get, easy to get to. The new interface, the way they do the menus here, they're slowly working to this new face. A lot of the old HMC is still behind the scenes, still pops up windows. They're still updating. So as they come up with new versions, they're adding to it.
And Tom, the version 10 that you're running will work with Power 9 and Power 8 also?
Power 8, 9, and 10. It doesn't work with 7 anymore. I still have an older HMC running for our one Power 7 that we have left, just to keep access to that.
And we have to keep that around because we got customers that are still running Power 7s, right? And maybe even Power 6, but we just go back to Power 7.
Well, thankfully I don't think we have any Power 6 anymore, but yeah, we've got one Power 7 left that we're working on phasing out. So that will be gone soon. One of the things in here that I like now that they've added is you can now manage your BIOSes directly from here. So if you have to do upgrades and updates, you can actually from here go straight to an update BIOS. You don't have to download any more information. You can do it automatically. So here I can let's see what's available. So I'll go to the IBM website. It's going to go out there automatically for me and not find anything.
This one looks like it's current.
Yeah, that one is the current version. Okay, there's the new one. Oh yeah, that's right. Communos are done. I'll try the Anakin BIOS. So yeah, if there's no updates available, it doesn't show you anything. Here we're going to check on this one.
You're saying this one should show it.
Yeah, this one shows you what's available, what service packs or fixed packs are available. From here, you can select it, choose to update it. It will do it for you all automatically. I don't have to go to the BIOS and log in. Does it all from here. Once it's all done, it'll notify you that it needs to be restarted if it's required. And that's why you have redundant BIOSes, so you can restart and do one at a time, upgrade them, and have you don't lose connectivity. Everything still runs. It's very nice for working with your BIOSes. I love this new option they added. I was so happy when they put that in.
Yeah, as an administrator, you don't have to be popping all over the place to try to do some updates, right?
Well, going and trying to figure out what service pack do I need to be at? What service, what are the fixed packs available? What version am I at? What version do I go to? It's all done for you. It does it automatically now, just like the HMC updates. I no longer have to go and figure out, okay, I got to go to Fix Central. What do I need to download? What versions am I at? Here with 17 different BIOSes, like even here, we're at 4 or 5 different versions. And keeping track of all that, I can go down to IBM's website, download the upgrade here once, save it to the HMC. It's an option on the thing here. So it downloads it once to the HMC, and then I can use that local image, that update fix pack, to upgrade the other ones. So
Can
here,
you
if you have
upgrade
HMC,
multiple BIOS at once as long as you're not updating the one? I mean, you don't want to update both pairs at once, right? So,
I you I don't know if I've ever do that. I still like doing it one by one.
yeah, I
And it
think so
looks
too.
here, yeah. So here I can, I can save the update image if I wanted to.
Okay,
I would do it one by one. I think you can only do it one by one. I don't think you, but you can start one off and then let it start running and kick off another one. So you can't
sure.
do them, but you can do
I got,
multiple
yeah,
windows of it.
you
Yeah,
can do multiple at once, but not multiple within the same
correct.
keystroke
Yeah,
or mouse click, right? And then,
correct.
what model hardware is the HMC? And it's in our case, it's a virtual, it's a Windows server, right? I mean, it's a VM.
Yep, it's running on a VMware environment. It's running the Windows, the x86, x64 version. It comes as a downloadable install. What do they call them? OVAs that you can just install directly there. And then you just do, you install that, you fire it up, you do a couple of configurations, set up your environment, and very easy. It's not really an install. It's just like I say, a restore of an image they have of it for you, and then you customize it to your environment. And like I say, we're running, you can tell that you get the levels and everything like that. But
Sounds good. I was handling a few questions as they came out,
oh, okay,
Tom. So
yeah,
go ahead with your demo. Sorry.
okay, no problem. That's feedback is good, lad. It's good to answer questions because I personally I know what I know about the HMC. I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know a lot about them. Uh, I use them for what I use them for, but like I say, everybody's environment is slightly different. Uh, Ask your questions if you need them. It's definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
So moving on, I think you were going to show tags maybe next, right?
yeah, uh, yeah. Well, actually, I was going to about the HMC management, the
Oh,
redundancy part of it.
yeah, go ahead.
With the multiple HMCs, one of the things you have to set up is user profiles and things like that. You have the capability. This is something I didn't find until you know a year or two ago when I was working with the multiples. We don't run that because of the way we do our HMCs and testing, but you can have a master HMC that contains all your data, your configurations, and you can have that fed out to other HMCs. So if you have a redundant pair, you only have to maintain your data in one place, and then it will automatically update the secondary HMCs, and you can have it sync, certain data like just user profiles or just group data, and so your maintenance is reduced greatly. You don't have to worry about is this profile on this system or in that system. And if you have them synchronized, if one goes down, well, all your data is still on the other one. You can just start using that one going to the different web address. This is actually pretty handy. I'm going to work on trying to get this in place here. I know we have some places where our testers and our developers need to have one HMC or the other, and I'm gonna have to try to figure out how that's going to work. But yeah, this is handy. This is something that if you've got redundant HMCs, use this if you can. It saves you a lot of work synchronizing back and forth. Tags. I love tags. Just started recently using them. Basically, with tags, you get to define how you want to indicate on your systems and VMs and resources to groupings. So here we have, like here we've got Power 9. So I can see what I've got listed as Power 9. So this system is tagged as a Power VC or as a Power 9. And so I don't have to go searching. What are my Power 9s? What are my tags? And we'll do it this way.
Then you can drill in and see all the
Yeah.
partitions there too. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll find my Power 9 tag. So you have one Power 9 system. I can have it based on partitions, VMs. So let's see, we got VMs. We'll look at, so here we've got no systems tag for there, but we do have multiple partitions.
So
Still
you
learning
type
it.
in,
Still, this should show me.
VRMS.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, here we go. So there's my partitions tag for our BRMS systems. So they're all in one place. I can look at the BIOSes. They're not allocating any right now, but we have like QA. We do QA tags. So here are the BIOSes that are tagged that QA gets to use. So it's a very quick way to know, like if I'm coming through, QA used it 6 months ago, and now today, they ask for their system again. I know it's tagged as QA. I know these are the ones that they can allocate. So it's a little easier to work with, get to, and yeah, that's there. And the other thing I want to touch on was data collection, and that's, like I said, like Tom was saying earlier, you have to enable it. But I would definitely advise if you have any systems and all that, turn on data collection. You can do it by system if you want. You can turn it all off, just so it starts collecting the information, your processor usage, your memory usage, and we can find, where do we use that one? So here, it gives you your indications, how much processor you're using, how much memory you have allocated. Here I'm showing here, my best spin system, network IO usage is a little bit high, 51%. That's a little bit higher than I normally expect, usually 10 to 15. So that way I know something's going up here. So I can go look at, where do we go to data collection? So I can look at the best spin system. I can look at the usage, what's using the systems. Okay, so there's my network usage. I know this VM is using it. And I can actually go in and, where is it? I probably just passed over. There we go. I can do performance dashboard. And this is what comes built into the HMC for their data collection and performance information.
Yeah.
It's a little
And
bit,
by turning that on too for each of your VMs, then it feeds into things like IBM Performance Collection too, which is really helpful when we do things with sizing systems, with Performance Navigator, that kind of
yes,
thing. So
yeah, it's data
definitely
that you
love
have to
that.
collect for that. Yep. So and this is the performance dashboard from the HMC. Gives you some basic information. There are products out there that'll give you more information. I don't know, Tom, do we have any products that do that?
Like Robot Monitor, of course, right? Yes.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
Performance Navigator for that matter.
yes.
People are asking about what kind of overhead for data collections. Do you notice anything there,
I
Tom?
did not notice any overhead for it. If it's there, it's minor. We do run our VMware very tight, so I'm always bucking for more processor and memory from the network guys on that. So our HMCs, I know you might notice it's a little bit sluggish here and there. So we're a little bit resource tight anyway. But I didn't notice any difference between having it on and off. One thing you have to monitor though is how much data you store. The HMCs do seem to have, I don't know why, there are some limitations on disk space and usage on that. And I do have to, like we use live partition mobility a lot, and I have to go in and actually clean up log files and that quite regularly. And there's a command line function for that. So that's one thing so that's one of the things there. Well, the one other thing I had this morning I wanted to show off was the actual, how you get to a console. Like here, if we have here, instead of having to fire up a PuTTY session or an SSH there to the HMC, you can get to the console directly from here. So I can actually open the console window to my BIOS directly from this connection.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is nice. This is handy. You can do AIX, Linux, BIOS. The IBM I you still have to use, going through the console session, things like that. But it's really nice.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Tom, I know we probably could have spent an hour on today's webinar as I was thinking about this, but it is what it is. And just to get people going, I'm going to take back control here, and we got another polling question, and We're back at it. So just a
Yeah.
few things Tom alluded to, monitoring the vials, just to keep in mind at the Fortra company, we do have Performance Navigator, which helps with a lot of the sizing and reporting and capacity planning, but we also have real-time monitoring with Robot Monitor, which can do the IBM AIX and Linux partition monitoring for you and the vials for that matter, and be able to provide real-time dashboards and a bit more, as Tom was alluded to, statistics around the various VMs and partitions that you might be monitoring. You can see, disk percentages, CPU percentages, and we're grabbing the NMON and performance collection data from IBM and the Unix, Linux type systems. Just storage consumption, so you can set up many different dashboards to show this different information and have it revolving for you. VM disk IO, we can show you some disk IO information to real time using the Robot Monitor product. And then on IBM and for that matter on your Unix environments, we can drill into job consumption or process consumption. In the IBM world, we can actually drill in and show you SQL transactions, that kind of thing. Just another example of some dashboards that we can do. And here we're showing you, the SQL statement that's being run in your environment that's causing the high performance on your system. So last thing I want to do, and then we'll get into some Q&A, is I'm going to put up a polling question. I always want to know, how can Fortra help you? Some things that we can do for you is we can do what we call a tech update, which is what I was referring to earlier. Talk to my colleagues, and I talk to many customers one-on-one just to get a feel for what they're looking at these days, what they need. If you want to talk about BI information, we can talk to you about that. HADR concerns, document management, or maybe you're somebody that wants a free security scan, we can do that for you too. Are you seeing the polling question on your end, Tom?
Yep, it's up.
Okay, good. So feel free to choose any of those options or as many as you want. Tom, we had a few questions, so let me see if I can bring up that question and answer panel again.
Well, I was gonna say, just before we get into that, one of
Yeah.
the things HMC, it's taking, there like, we use Power VC a lot with our various, for rolling out new partitions and that. So my HMC usage or access has really reduced with that. If you're doing anything else that, like, well, like if you're a service provider, that where you're doing lots of partition rollouts and letting the user do their own systems and that, the HMC, I haven't had to be in there as much. Power VC lets me have a window to it. So that's why some of the stuff is a little bit rusty for me, but yeah, it's always going to be behind the scenes, I think, and IBM
Yeah. So
has, like, say that they're actively updating it now. Before it did sit around for a while without a lot of updates. Now they're actively updating it. I think you can see a lot more changes in the HMC coming.
yeah. Well, one of the questions we have is, how critical is it to upgrade the HMC? What's the impact? Can you do that while the operating system's running?
Yeah, you can. For our environment here, we, like I say, we're testing a lot of the new stuff coming. That a lot of the new functionality to test, like with VSN, like virtual serial number, things like that, you have to be on a fairly newer version. You have to stay current. If you're not, it depends on how volatile your environment is. If you're stationary in a system for several years, like I know when I was in a production environment, we updated our HMC maybe once every 6 months because
Okay.
we didn't change the rest of the systems a lot. But that was, I'm thinking back, that's 17 years ago.
Okay. So the HMC,
So
like I said, 2 decades been around at least.
yeah, yep.
Somebody also asked about tags. Do you have to assign those manually, or can you
Yeah,
grab multiple
yeah.
systems and just assign the tag to it? How does that work?
Tags are assigned system by system, unfortunately. You have to go
And you
in
have
and Yeah,
Just
and
be
see,
happy you
that's
don't
what
have 512 VMs like
yeah,
Tom has.
I would say that's why we don't tag our partitions, because with them being user rolled out at any time, they can fire them up, start them down. That our numbers at what 519 now, it changes so quickly in that I don't have time to go in and modify each VM as they deploy. We do I'm tagging my BIOSes now, my systems, things like that. But yeah, it's unfortunately they'll have to work on that a little bit better so you can tag multiples at a time.
Here's a good question. Can I go from V9R2 of the HMC to the most current version with LPARs active, or does it require me to shut down all my LPARs?
You don't need to shut down your LPARs. They will still run without the HMC there, because that runs on their systems and environments. The HMC just lets you manage them. So you can turn off your HMCs if you want. Uh,
While your
the
partitions
functionality
are running.
while your partitions are still running, because the BIOSes are a partition on the hardware as well. They're going to control your environment, control what feeds up to the LPARs. So yeah, you can do your HMCs without affecting your current LPARs. I don't know if you can jump from 9 to the latest version of 10. You may have an intermediate upgrade in there. I'd have to check on that to see what it can do. But
Okay. Another HMC question. Is there any new features on the ability to PTF multiple IBM LPARs at once? Any kind of central distribution on the actual PTFs for the operating systems like IBM I?
no, they don't go into the PTFs with the HMCs, as far as
No.
I can
So
tell.
right now it's BIOS and HMC itself. So
BIOS, HMC, the firmware on the hardware, your hardware
yeah,
server firmware, you can do from the HMC. They haven't gone down to the partition level yet. Might be
yeah,
coming. That might be a good request to put into IBM. I
yeah.
know that with the updates and that I've done on LPARs and IBMs and that, sometimes there are issues that you have to be aware of. So I know we bricked 6 partitions one time with a bad upgrade. There was a PTF that should have applied permanent and wasn't. And yeah, I don't know if I'd want to do it from the HMC or still do it manually by partition.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for answering all these questions and doing a demonstration. We hope that we helped you navigating today's HMC a little bit. In front of you, you see all the Fortra solutions that we can do and help you with cybersecurity and automation. Take a look at what we can do. We love to be able to demonstrate and or talk about these various technologies that we can do for cybersecurity. We can be your enterprise cybersecurity company. We can be your IBMI cybersecurity company. We can be your IBMI automation company, but we also can be your Unix, Linux, and Windows automation company. And just to kind of drive home the point, I always like to share some of the brands that we've acquired over the last, 10 years or so in the enterprise cybersecurity space that people don't know about. Security awareness training, we do that. We do email security, secure file transfer, digital risk protection, document protection, data loss prevention, that kind of thing, file integrity monitoring, penetration testing. We can auto penetration test IBM I. We can auto penetration test Windows, Linux. Alert Logic, we can be your managed detection response. So if anybody's looking for a better enterprise cybersecurity monitoring solution, we can do that with Alert Logic, and we can tie IBMI into that, something that makes Fortra very unique. Well, it's been a wonderful time sharing webinar on navigating IBMI. We thank you all as customers and or business partners. Make it a wonderful day. Go out and sign up for common.org if you're looking for education on IBMI. Take care. Thank you, Tom. Wonderful presentation.
Thank you.